In 2025, a wild storm rolled in where it didn't belong. Floods took out roads and left people stranded, staring at a mess no one saw coming. Right away, some pointed to Padre Pio, the friar who said years ago that chaos like this would hit in 2025. His old warning, once just a story, now felt real, too real. Before I delve into the details, I need you to take two important actions. First, subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you won't miss any critical updates like this. Second, write in the comments, "Lord, guide me in truth." This is not just a simple phrase. It is a declaration of faith, a statement of conviction. Only those who remain steadfast will have the strength to withstand what is coming. People started talking, pulling his name out of the past, wondering if he nailed it. The church didn't know what to do. Phones rang off the hook, and priests huddled up fast. Some said it was his prophecy waking up. Others weren't so sure. But the storm wasn't quiet. It screamed for attention, and it put the church on edge. This wasn't just bad weather. It was the first crack in Padre Pio's prediction coming true, and it's already shaking things up big time. Padre Pio was a friar who could see things others couldn't, a man of God with a gift for knowing what was coming. He spent his days praying in a small monastery in Italy, but his visions made him known far beyond those walls. People trusted him because he'd warn them about dangers or tell them secrets he had no way of knowing, like when someone would die or how to avoid trouble. His last vision, though, was different. It came near the end of his life, heavy with warnings about a time of chaos in 2025. He saw nature flipping out, faith crumbling, and tricks fooling the world, stuff that sounded crazy back then. Now, with that storm hitting in 2025, his words don't sound so crazy anymore. They're loud and clear, like a voice reaching across decades to say, "I told you this would happen." That's why everyone's listening now, because what he saw is starting to play out, and it's got the church on its toes. A storm brewing later this year, 2025, a rain so heavy it doesn't belong, hitting cities when they least expect it. Padre Pio warned about this kind of thing, a deluge that turns dry streets into rivers, coming out of nowhere in the wrong season. He saw it clear as day, water rushing through places that never flood, tearing up roads and knocking out power, leaving people stranded. Homes could slide into mud, and cars might drift down streets like boats, with no warning to brace for it. This isn't here yet, but the air feels off, the weather's been acting strange already, and experts keep saying bigger shifts are coming. Padre Pio said nature would lose its rhythm as a sign, and a storm like this could be the first punch. If it lands before 2025 ends, it'll match his words too well to ignore, floods where they shouldn't be, chaos kicking off his prediction. People are already watching the skies, wondering when it'll hit. If that storm Padre Pio sees strikes before 2025 ends, panic will spread fast. People won't know what to do. Floodwaters could trap families in their homes, with no way out as streets turn into raging streams. Supermarkets might empty out quickly, shelves bare as folks grab what they can, scared of what's next. Power could stay off for days, phones dead, and news just static, leaving everyone guessing. Traffic would jam up with cars stuck in mud or water, horns blaring as drivers try to escape. Some might climb trees or rooftops, shouting for help that's too far off to hear. Padre Pio said chaos like this would shake the world, and if it happens, it'll feel like he's right there pointing at it. Cities could turn into ghost towns overnight, people running on fear instead of plans. The longer it lasts, the louder his warning echoes. Nature's mess could be the spark that makes everyone stop and wonder what's really going on. If that storm hits later in 2025, the church won't sit quiet. Priests will pull out Padre Pio's old writings, flipping pages to find his words about nature going wild. Some will stand up in their robes and say, "This is it. He saw this coming decades ago." They'll point to his prediction, telling people it's a sign to wake up. Others won't buy it. They'll shake their heads, saying it's just bad luck, not a prophecy. Meetings will happen fast behind closed doors, with bishops arguing over what to tell the faithful. Phone lines will buzz as worried callers ask if Padre Pio really knew 2025 would turn upside down. The ones who believe him will start praying harder, clutching rosaries, while the doubters try to calm everyone down. It'll be a mess of voices, some loud with faith, others hush with caution. Either way, the church will feel the heat, forced to face his warning head-on as the storm's echo grows louder. Padre Pio didn't just see one storm, he saw nature lose all its rules. In his last vision, he warned of weather turning crazy in 2025, rain where it's dry, snow where it's hot, winds tearing through calm places. He said the seasons would mix up, confusing everyone, with heat waves scorching winter days and ice hitting summer fields. Earthquakes could rumble in spots that never shake, cracking roads and homes without warning. He told his monks it'd be a signal, God letting the earth shout when people stopped listening. If that storm comes late this year, it's only the start. More could follow, floods in deserts, blizzards in tropics, all piling up before 2025 ends. Padre Pio said it'd test the world, showing how small we are when nature flips. People might look back at his words then, seeing how every twist he predicted fits the chaos outside. It's not here yet, but if it kicks off, his vision will feel like a map to what's breaking loose. If Padre Pio's storm shakes 2025, another blow could follow, money falling apart. He saw a day when banks would close up fast, leaving people with nothing. Imagine it hitting late this year. One morning, ATMs stop working, screens blink, and cash just vanishes. Stores turn folks away because cards don't swipe, and wallets feel useless. Big banks might announce they're broke, savings gone in a flash, like smoke slipping through fingers. Padre Pio warned of this in his vision. Wealth crumbling as part of the chaos. People could line up outside branches, banging on locked doors, but get no answers. Prices for bread or gas might shoot up, out of reach for most, sparking fights over what's left. He said it'd push the world to its knees, testing who trusts God over gold. If this crash lands before 2025 fades, it'll match his words too closely, another sign his prediction wasn't just talk, but a heads-up we can't ignore. If money crashes late in 2025, the streets will feel it hard. People might swarm shops, grabbing food before it's gone, shoving past each other with empty pockets. Cars could clog roads as folks try to flee cities, horns screaming, but nowhere to go. Trash would pile up, lights stay off, and water might stop running, leaving homes cold and quiet. Gangs could roam, taking what they want, while police struggle to keep up. Padre Pio saw this mess coming, cities turning wild when systems fail. He said it'd show how fast order breaks when money's useless. Arguments might spill out, neighbors fighting over a can of soup or a gallon of gas. Some could barricade their doors, peeking through curtains, scared of who's next. If this hits before the year's out, it'll be his vision alive, chaos spreading like fire, proving he knew how thin the line is between calm and crazy. People won't just walk by then, they'll feel the weight he warned about. If the storm and crash pile up in 2025, faith will take a hit. Some will pack churches, praying loud, asking God to fix it, hands tight on pews, voices shaky but strong. Others might turn away, mad that prayers didn't stop the floods or save their cash. Padre Pio said this would happen, trouble testing who really believes. He saw people blaming the church, shouting it failed them when roofs caved or banks locked up. Families could split, one kneeling, one cursing, faith drawing a line between them. Those holding on might clutch his rosary, whispering for strength, while doubters walk out, done with hope. If this kicks off late this year, it'll match his words, trials peeling back what's real in people's hearts. The ones who stay will lean on what he taught, trusting through the mess. But the rest? They'll drift, and Padre Pio knew that'd be the hardest part, watching faith crack when the world does. If 2025 brings these blows, the church won't stay whole. Some priests will climb pulpits, holding up Padre Pio's predictions, saying, "He told us this was coming, listen now." They'll urge people to pray, pointing to his vision as proof. But others will push back, saying it's all noise, no prophecy, just bad days. They'll tell folks to stay cool, not by the hype. Meetings will turn loud, bishops picking sides, voices rising over what's true. Padre Pio saw this rift, faith's leaders torn when his warnings hit home. If the storm and crash happen late this year, the divide will grow fast. Some churches might fill with believers chanting his name, while others empty out, their priests dodging the talk. It'll shake the church's bones, half ready to follow his path, half scared to admit he was right. Either way, the split will force everyone to choose, just like he said it would when 2025 rolled around. Padre Pio's vision had one more twist. A darkness could fall late in 2025. Picture it. The sky goes black for days, not a flicker of light anywhere. Power grids might fail, bulbs stay cold, and even flashlights give up. Strange sounds could creep through, whispers or bangs no one can place, making the air feel thick. He called it a test, a shadow swallowing the world to see who holds on. If this drops before the year ends, it'll fit his words, a blackout deeper than storms or crashes. People might huddle inside, blinds shut, wondering what's out there. Cars could stall, streets silent, with only the wind talking. Padre Pio said this darkness would come as a sign, pushing faith to the edge. If it happens, it'll be the third punch he saw. Nature, money, now night without end. No one's seen it yet, but if it lands, his prediction will stand tall, impossible to brush off. If that darkness blankets 2025, fear will take over quickly. People might lock every door, piling chairs against them, jumping at every creak. Kids could cry in corners, parents shushing them, while outside, the noises get louder, scrapes, nicks, maybe voices that don't make sense. Phones won't work, radio's dead, cutting everyone off from help. Some might peek out windows, seeing nothing but black, hearts racing at what they can't spot. Padre Pio said this would happen, fear gripping tight when light vanishes. If it hits late this year, towns could turn into scared shells, folks too spooked to step out. A few might pray, voices low, hoping it passes, but most will just wait, sweating it out. He warned it'd test the brave, darkness showing who cracks and who stands. If it comes, it'll be his vision alive, fear ruling where calm used to be, pushing people to the limit he saw coming. Padre Pio didn't guess about this darkness. He knew it'd strike. In his last vision, he told his monks a black veil would cover the earth, lasting days, testing every soul. He said it'd be more than no light. Evil would stir, making people doubt what's real. Only faith, he swore, would pull anyone through, prayer cutting the fear like a knife. If this happens late in 2025, it'll line up perfectly with what he saw, a world shut down, trapped in shadow, just as he warned. He told folks to stay inside, trust God, and not listen to tricks in the dark. His words were clear. This wasn't random. It was a sign to shake the sleepy awake. If that blackout falls, it'll echo him exactly. Days of night proving his prediction wasn't a story, but a map. People might dig up his advice then, hoping he left a way to outlast what he foresaw. If darkness drops in 2025, the church won't dodge it anymore. Priests will gather fast, some holding Padre Pio's notes, saying, "This is his third sign. We can't deny it now." They'll match the blackout to his vision, voices firm, ready to call it prophecy. Others will stall, arguing it's a power glitch, not a holy warning, urging calm over panic. But the fit will be too tight, storms, crashes. Now this, too much like he said. If it happens late this year, leaders will face hard talks, admit he saw 2025, or keep quiet and lose trust. Some might light candles in churches, praying his name, while doubters scramble for excuses. Padre Pio warned the church would shake when his signs hit, and this could be it, truth staring them down. The longer it lasts, the louder his words get, forcing priests to pick a side before the lights come back. If these signs stack up in 2025, something else could break loose, a letter from Padre Pio himself. Hidden away since his death, it might surface late this year, found in a dusty monastery box. He wrote it after his last vision, sealing it with a note, "Open when the world shakes." If the storm, crash, and darkness hit, monks might pull it out, hands shaky, knowing the time's right. The church will buzz, some will call it fake, others a gift from him. Padre Pio said his warnings weren't just talk. He left proof for days like these. If it's unsealed before 2025 ends, it'll tie straight to what's happening, his voice jumping from the past to now. People will lean in, waiting to hear what he scribbled down, hoping it explains the mess or lights a way out. It's his final move, and it could change everything. If Padre Pio's hidden letter is unsealed late in 2025, it will lay out 3 clear warnings, written in his tight, careful script. The first is about nature and faith breaking down together. He wrote, "The earth will rebel, and hearts will stray." He saw storms flooding cities out of season, like the rains that might have already washed out roads and homes this year. He warned of heat waves scorching places that should be cold, and earthquakes rattling towns that never shake, events that could still hit before 2025 ends. But it's not just weather. He tied it to faith, saying people would turn away from God as these disasters pile up, blaming him for floods or heat instead of praying. If the year's chaos, floods, maybe more quakes or heat, matches this, the letter will feel like a checklist, ticking off what's already happened and what might be next. The second warning in the letter is about lies taking over. Padre Pio wrote, "Falsehoods will spread, blinding eyes to truth." He saw a time when people would be tricked by fake stories and illusions, especially through technology. If 2025 is already reeling from storms, bank crashes, and blackouts, this could be the next blow. Screens flashing fake news, like reports claiming the disasters are over when they're not, or videos showing miracles that never happened, like glowing crosses in the sky. He warned of leaders lying to calm people down, saying there's no crisis, even as shelves stay empty and power stays off. If this kind of deception starts before the year ends, maybe a viral video of a prophet who's just a hoax, it'll match his words exactly, showing how lies can confuse people already scared by floods and darkness. The letter's final point is short but firm. Prayer alone will save. Padre Pio didn't promise quick fixes. He said the rosary and faith would be the only way through the chaos of nature and lies. He urged people to pray daily, especially the rosary, to stay clear-headed when disasters and tricks pile up. If 2025 is already a mess, with cities flooded, banks closed, nights dark, and maybe lies spreading, this advice will hit hard. People might start gathering in homes or churches, praying together, clutching rosaries to push back fear. If the church backs the letter, priests might hand out prayer cards, telling everyone to follow Padre Pio's lead. If this all unfolds before the year's out, his letter will feel less like a relic and more like a manual, spelling out what's happening and how to survive it. If Padre Pio's letter warned of lies in 2025, technology could make it happen fast. Before the year ends, screens might light up with fake news, videos claiming floods never happened or bank crashes were just a glitch, even as people stand in ruined streets or empty stores. Social media could explode with posts showing miracles that aren't real, like a glowing Padre Pio in the sky, edited to trick believers. News channels might broadcast interviews with experts who say the blackouts were normal, not a sign, while others push stories of fake prophets promising to fix it all. Padre Pio saw this coming. He wrote that machines would spread falsehoods, confusing people already shaken by storms and darkness. If this hits late in 2025, it'll match his vision, technology turning into a tool for lies, making it hard to know what's true. People might stare at their phones, unsure if the chaos is real or just a screen's illusion. If there are flood screens in 2025, some people won't fall for it. A small group of believers, leaning on Padre Pio's advice, will stick to prayer and ignore the tech tricks. They'll meet in homes or quiet corners of churches, clutching rosaries, reciting the prayers he loved, determined to see through the fakes. When videos of glowing saints or false prophets pop up, they'll turn off their phones, trusting their faith instead. Padre Pio wrote that faith would be a shield against lies, and these people will prove it, helping neighbors, sharing food, and staying calm while others panic over what's on their screens. If this group forms before the year ends, it'll match his prediction, a few staying steady, guided by prayer, while the world spins in confusion. They'll be the ones others turn to, looking for truth in a sea of tech-driven lies. If Padre Pio's letter and the year's chaos, storms, crashes, darkness, lies, pile up in 2025, the Church will feel the strain. Priests who believe in his prophecy will hold up the letter, saying, "This is proof, he saw it all." They'll push his message, urging people to pray, and ignore the fake miracles on screens. But other priests will push back, worried about losing control, saying the letter's just an old note, not a holy guide. Meetings in church halls will turn tense. Some bishops will demand action, like printing Padre Pio's prayers for everyone, while others will say it's too risky, fearing it'll stir up more panic. If this split deepens before 2025 ends, it'll fit his warning, the church shaking when his signs hit. The faithful will feel it too, choosing between priests who shout his name and those who stay quiet, splitting pews, just as he predicted. If Padre Pio's predictions keep unfolding in 2025, more chaos could hit before the year's out. He warned of earthquakes striking places that never shake. Imagine a tremor cracking streets in a quiet Midwest town, or a coastal city jolted where faults were unknown. He also saw heat waves burning through winter. Picture December days hitting 90 degrees, crops dying, and people sweating in coats, confused by the sun. Snow might fall in deserts, blanketing sand dunes, while floods keep drowning cities already soaked. If these pile up late in 2025, they'll match his vision, nature losing all its rules, one disaster after another. People will start connecting the dots, seeing how each quake or heat wave fits his words, like a puzzle snapping together. Experts might scramble to explain it, but if it happens, Padre Pio's warnings will feel less like guesses and more like a schedule of what's breaking loose. If storms, crashes, darkness, lies, and now quakes and heat waves hit 2025, people will demand answers. Crowds might gather outside churches, asking priests if Padre Pio was right. Was this really what he saw? Some will dig into his old stories, reading about his visions of sick people healed or dangers avoided, wondering if his big prediction is just as true. Others will doubt, saying it's all coincidence, just bad weather and bad luck, not a prophecy. Families might argue, one person clutching a rosary, another laughing it off, hope and skepticism clashing at kitchen tables. If this search for answers grows before the year ends, it'll match what Padre Pio expected. People turning to his words, some believing, some not, as the chaos forces everyone to pick a side. His name will be everywhere, whispered in prayers or shouted in debates, as the world tries to make sense of the mess. If 2025 keeps matching Padre Pio's warnings, the rosary will turn into a lifeline. He loved this prayer, saying it could calm storms in the soul, and if the year's disasters, floods, crashes, darkness, lies, quakes, keep piling up, people will grab it tight. Before the year ends, groups might form in homes, reciting the beads together, asking for strength as power stays off or food runs low. Churches could hand out rosaries by the hundreds, priests teaching the prayers to anyone who'll listen, echoing Padre Pio's advice to pray through the chaos. If lies keep spreading on screens, the rosary will be a way to focus, a shield against confusion. If this happens late in 2025, it'll fit his prediction, people turning to the prayer he swore by, using it to stay steady while the world spins out of control. It'll be his voice, guiding them through the mess, one bead at a time. If the chaos of 2025 drags on, a small group of believers will rise above the rest. Padre Pio predicted they'd appear, people who stick to faith, help others, and ignore the lies, no matter how bad things get. Before the year ends, they might start organizing, handing out food to neighbors trapped by floods, or praying with families scared by quakes. When tech spreads fakes, they'll shut it off, relying on prayer and Padre Pio's warnings to guide them. They'll be the ones others turn to, calm when crowds panic, steady when streets turn wild. If this group forms late in 2025, it'll match his vision, a few standing strong, proving faith can outlast chaos. People will notice, some joining, others watching, as this group becomes a living example of what Padre Pio said would happen when the world shakes and lies spread. If Padre Pio's predictions keep hitting in 2025, storms, crashes, darkness, lies, quakes, and now faithful groups rising, the church will have to shift. Before the year ends, leaders might rethink their stance, seeing how his warnings fit the chaos too well to ignore. Bishops who doubted him might start quoting his letter, urging priests to preach his message of prayer and truth. Churches could be filled with rosary groups, and Padre Pio's name might be added to prayers, his story told as a guide for surviving the mess. But it won't be smooth. Some priests will still resist, scared of losing control, while others push hard, saying he's the key to saving faith. If this change happens late in 2025, it'll match his prediction, the church forced to adapt when his signs pile up. His name will grow bigger, not just a saint, but a voice for a world turned upside down. If 2025 keeps delivering Padre Pio's warnings, floods, crashes, darkness, lies, quakes, heat, skeptics will start to falter. Experts who said it was just weather or bad luck will struggle to explain why earthquakes hit stable ground or why winter burns with summer heat. Before the year ends, their excuses might sound thin, claiming it's all climate change or coincidence, while news shows the same disasters Padre Pio described decades ago. People will stop listening, turning instead to his words, digging up his letter, and asking if he really saw it all. Crowds might mock the skeptics, saying, "Explain the darkness, explain the lies," as his predictions fit too well. If this shift happens late in 2025, it'll match what he expected, doubt losing ground as his vision stands tall. More will turn to faith, not science, seeing Padre Pio as the one who got it right. If Padre Pio's predictions keep unfolding in 2025, his vision doesn't stop at the year's chaos. He wrote that the mess, storms, crashes, darkness, lies, quakes, would clean the world, stripping away what's weak. Before 2025 ends, people might see signs of this. Cities rebuilt stronger after floods, or communities forming tighter after lies fail. But he warned it'd be hard. Faith would decide who lasts, with those praying through the chaos coming out steady, while others fall to fear or tricks. He saw 2025 as just the start, a shaking to wake people up, not the end of the story. If the year closes with his signs still hitting, it'll feel like his words are a roadmap, not a guess, showing what's breaking now and hinting at what's next. People will look at his vision, wondering what else he saw, knowing the tests aren't over. If Padre Pio's warnings keep matching 2025, people will ask how he saw it all. His track record is why he had visions that always came true, small ones building to this big one. Decades ago, he told a farmer rain would save his dying crops, and it poured that night. He warned a woman her son would crash his car, and it happened, but he survived because she prayed. These little predictions, proven right, made people trust him. His big vision of 2025, nature wild, money gone, darkness, lies, faith tested, fits the same pattern, just on a larger scale. If the year ends with his signs piling up, it'll feel like those old stories, only louder. People will dig into his past, seeing how every vision, big or small, hit the mark, making his 2025 prediction impossible to brush off. If Padre Pio's predictions keep hitting in 2025, his life will be why people believe him. He lived simply, a friar in a small Italian monastery, praying hours each day, eating little, and trusting God completely. He wasn't after fame. People came to him, drawn by his visions and healings, like when he prayed over a sick child who walked again. He built a hospital for the poor, using donations, not miracles, showing faith in action. If 2025 ends with his warnings unfolding, floods, crashes, darkness, lies, quakes, his life will make his words believable. People will see a man who didn't lie, didn't chase glory, just served God and others. His story will back up his vision, making it hard to doubt as the world sees his predictions play out in real time. If Padre Pio's vision keeps unfolding in 2025, he saw more than just the year's chaos. He wrote of bigger tests after, disasters growing worse, lies getting trickier, faith pushed to the edge. But he also saw peace for some. Those who pray through it, sticking to the rosary, would find calm, even as the world shakes. He predicted a new start, a world cleaned by chaos, where faith shapes what's left. If 2025 ends with his signs hitting hard, floods, crashes, darkness, lies, quakes, people will look to this future, scared but hopeful. His words will feel like a promise. The mess isn't forever, but faith will decide who sees the other side. The year's chaos will just be the beginning, setting the stage for what he saw next, with prayer as the key to outlasting it all. If Padre Pio's predictions keep striking in 2025, his advice will feel urgent. Get ready now. He wrote that prayer and trust are the only ways through, especially the rosary, to stay strong as nature rebels, money fails, darkness falls, lies spread, and quakes hit. If the year isn't over and his signs are still unfolding, people might start praying harder, forming groups, clutching beads, asking for strength. The church might push this too, handing out rosaries, quoting his letter, saying, "Do what he said, before it's too late." If 2025 ends with his warnings ringing true, his way, prayer, faith, ignoring lies, will feel like the answer, not a choice. People will see the year as a wake-up call, knowing the chaos isn't done, but trusting Padre Pio's path to guide them through whatever comes next.